following contains violence, coarse language, and adult situations not suitable for minors. Viewer discretion is advised.
Brutal!
Christ, man, you make that poor guy die every time.
I do. Welcome, everyone, to the podcast. I guess we don't really have a name anymore, but it's fine.
Yeah, I guess I thought Wandering Tavern was our podcast.
That is sort of what we advertise it as, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like you've seen Young Justice, the show, right? Like,
yeah.
You notice how the team is never actually called Young Justice; they just call it the team.
That's true.
It's so strange.
They do that.
I don't know why. I guess because it's too different from the Young Justice, the team from the comics. Because I know it blends in a little bit of Teen Titans with it by making Robin, Kid Flash, and Aqualad founding members. Well, specifically Dick Grayson Robin.
This is true.
But we're not here to talk about DC. We're here to talk about the other guy.
We're here to talk about Marvel. And Marvel is fun. Until Daddy Iger takes the money away. And it seems he's doing that. Hi, Taskmaster. Hello, Legacy. Welcome. All right, so... Oh, Caesar, can you think of any big news items that happened this week that are, monetizable?
Monetizable?
Yeah, we can't talk about the other things that are going on this week. Yeah.
About certain people fighting other certain people?
Yes, precisely. Yeah.
No matter what side you take, you get crucified for it.
Precisely.
No, I can't think of anything apart from this subject.
Indeed. So, if you have not been paying attention to recent news, The Marvels has a review embargo, and this isn't uncommon, in the film industry. They don't want people, spoiling the film way before they're ready to release it into the theaters. However, The Marvels is interesting in that their review embargo was set to only end 3 days before the film is set to release into theaters. This was unusual because normal review embargoes only last till probably a week before, like the week before opening weekend. So, you've got the people that look at the reviews and decide what films they're going to go see.
Yeah.
But this is 3 days before opening weekend, which means that even Access Hollywood could not find anything worthwhile in The Marvels.
Yes, and also probably means that the executives are not confident in it. This was a similar thing happened to the Fantastic Four reboot from 2015.
Mm-hmm.
The review embargo was lifted shortly before the movie's release, and the movie was as bad as you predicted it would be.
Indeed.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Fantastic Four.
I do too. Like, they've tried twice to make it work, and it just won't. And I don't know why. Like, the Fantastic Four are an interesting enough team, and they once, at one time, supported, their own show. They've had several shows, actually.
Mm-hmm.
One from literally the early 2000s.
Yeah, I remember that one. There's also one from the 90s. There was an old Hanna-Barbera one from the 60s. Even the Thing actually had his own spin-off show. Did you ever see that? Yeah,
No.
I caught it on a cruise. It's like this was back in 2005 when the first Fantastic Four movie came out. So the cruise I was on had like a channel full of cartoons, and so they had the 60s Fantastic Four cartoon as well as the Thing. So the Thing is an interesting show. So like in this story, Ben Grimm is a teenager. He goes by Benji, and instead of like being mutated into a rock monster, instead whenever he sees trouble, he has a pair of rings that he just puts together and he shouts, "Thing ring, do your thing." And then a bunch of rocks pile on top of him and he becomes the Thing.
What the fuck?
I know, it's so weird. So yeah, it has nothing to do with the Fantastic Four as far as I can tell.
Is there is there like a foreign hero called the Thing?
What's that?
Is there like a hero from another country that's called the Thing?
I
Like
don't
a
know.
comic hero or something?
No, I don't think. Why?
Because that sounds like someone just didn't know what the source material was.
I think I guess the idea was just, my theory is that they were told to make a show about the Thing, but it couldn't. They try to make it to make a. I guess they thought, how could we make the Thing without it being dependent on the Fantastic Four?
True. But
Yes, Thing ring, do
the
your
real
thing.
if we can find that clip, we'll put it into rotation.
Okay.
But today we're talking about two things. So something else. So we've obviously had South Park and the Pandaverse come out recently. It was either like end of last week or beginning of this week. And from everything I've seen, it's a rather hilarious episode.
I haven't kept up with South Park in a long time.
I have not as well.
Yeah, I think
however,
oh, sorry, go on.
go ahead.
I'm gonna say, I think the last time I kept up with it was when was the season with the member berries and Mr. Garrison being Trump.
I remember.
Yes.
Anyway, but they were Mr. Stone and Mr. Parker were quite merciless when it came to taking down Kathleen Kennedy. In fact, I would actually say, oh, this will be glorious. Excellent. Caesar just sent me the the thing ring, do your thing clip. So that'll probably happen. But so we had the South Park Enter the Pandaverse episode, which basically was like, oh, hey Disney, Star Wars is garbage now, and it's mostly because of this lady and Bob Iger, but mostly this lady. They were way too soft on Iger from what I hear. But they do work in the same industry, so they've got to maintain some bridges. It's got to be okay for them to make fun of them. Otherwise, this would have come out years ago. Someone somewhere said, you know what? It's okay. We can make fun of Kathleen Kennedy now. It's okay.
Yeah, I haven't really watched the episode yet myself. I've just noticed just seeing the people's reactions. Some people are saying it's based, while other people are saying no, it's satirizing. It's satirizing the people who say it's based, while other people are just calling Stone and Parker fence sitters.
Well, they are doing a bit of fence sitting, but that's understandable. Well, because again, if they really wanted to be, edgy and on really like on the edge, they would have done this after Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, I kind of like I've heard like one guy that I follow on Twitter say the reason why they're pulling their punches is because of they might lose the Book of Mormon over it. I'm
Like
not.
the Broadway show.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm not entirely sure. That's just what I've heard.
Okay. That's odd. But it was not Star Wars alone that got the lash, that felt the lash of the media. Variety published this article about the horrors and problems within the MCU.
Yes, now Shill Media has finally caught up with the rest of us.
Indeed. But it's important to consider why. Why is this suddenly okay now? Oh. So let's see if the shill media came to the same conclusions that we, the viewers, did about 4 years ago in 2019. Sorry, Crisis at So the article is titled "Crisis at Marvel." Jonathan Majors' backup plans, the Marvels reshoots, reading the original Avengers, and more issues revealed. So, let us begin. So this past September, a group of Marvel creatives, including studio chief Kevin Feige, assembled in Palm Springs for the studio's annual retreat. Most years, the vibe would have been confident and even coffee, given how the premiere of this premier superhero brand owned by Disney since 2009 has remade the entertainment business in its image. Yes, and they've taken us to a horrible place that no one wanted to go. Ooh, and there were plenty of warning signs everywhere, but they ignored them and called the people that tried to save this brand and istophobes. Like, we tried with Gamergate, we tried with Comicsgate, we tried with YouTube and Twitter and everything else, and no one listened, and now we can sit smugly saying I told you so. Hi, Akam.
Hey there, Wisp.
Yeah, Legacy. Disney has owned Marvel since 2009.
Yes, we
Ain't
lost
it
Spectacular
fun?
Spider-Man over it.
All right. But this occasion was angst-ridden. Okay. I did not think I'd see a professional journalist ever say angst-ridden. Everyone at Marvel was reeling from a series of disappointments on screen, a legal scandal involving one of its biggest stars. Yeah, Jonathan Majors is, let's just say, alleged to have done many things. And that's problematic. Hi, Wisps.
Yeah,
A legal scandal involving one of its biggest. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say I've been finding it really weird what Phase 4 has been doing with King. I mean, I'm sure Legacy can back me up on this since he knows more about the comics than I do. But from what I know, King is supposed to be like he's an emperor from the distant future. He's not supposed to be this legion of multiversal guys. I mean, the only thing I know about him is from the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon. I think he goes back in time to kill Captain America because he's responsible for toppling his empire in the future or something like that. Right. Go on.
Okay, so I only know about the Earth's Mightiest Heroes cartoon as well. Questions about the viability of the studio's ambitious strategy to extend the brand beyond movies into streaming. The most pressing issue to be discussed at the retreat was what to do about Jonathan Majors, the actor who had been poised to carry the next phase of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but instead is headed to a high-profile trial in New York later this month on domestic violence charges. Okay, so we're just addressing that. So, So, what did you think would happen when you didn't plan this out? First of all, Kang doesn't have any threat. Like you killed the threat of Kang long ago. Like dude does not have any threat presence to him anyway because his first introduction he was just a clown. Like he was literally a clown in Loki.
Yeah.
And then when they he was there for one episode and they killed him. Then you had him lose to Ant-Man. Ant-Man of all people.
Yeah, this kind of ties back to our read through of Lily Orchard's fan fiction. It's like don't make your villains a joke. Your villains need to be your villains. Like the hero needs to be or the villain needs to be just as good as the hero. If you want the story to have some staying power. Like there's a good video by what's his name, Braden Alberti. He did a whole video series about the MCU's villain problem. It's actually really good, and he goes over each villain and compares them to how they are in the comics. And just watching it made me actually caused me to kind of hate the MCU a lot more. Just makes me realize just how much got lost over creative liberties. So sorry, go on.
Where was I? Yeah. The actor insists he is the victim, but the damage to his reputation and the chance he could lose the case has forced Marvel to reconsider its plans to center the next phase of its interlocking slate of sequels, spin-offs, and series around Major's villainous character Kang the Conqueror. A character that was dead in the water from the jump. Because they didn't actually know that he was going to be a big deal until later.
Well, yeah, good to know they mapped this out. I mean, to be fair, I've heard they did a similar thing with Thanos, from what I've heard. Like they weren't initially sure if he was going to be the overarching villain or not.
But they didn't introduce him like as the villain until a good ways into phase 1.
Yeah, at the tail end.
Yeah. So they had time to decide that. Like they didn't reveal him I think until Avengers, right?
Yeah, at the end of phase 1, we find out who Loki's boss was.
Yeah, exactly. Like they had all of phase 1 to be like, okay, we need to have Thanos be the villain. Or could we have someone else? Could it be Galactus? Or some other person.
I think Fox still had the rights to Galactus at the time. He's a Fantastic Four villain.
I see. All right. At the gathering in Palm Springs, Spring's executives discussed backup plans, including pivoting to another comic book adversary like Doctor Doom, but making any shift would carry its own headaches. Majors was already a big presence in the MCU, including as the scene-stealing antagonist in February's Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, a movie that died on its opening weekend. Dead. Did not make a profit. That movie did not make a profit. So we're gonna put all our hopes and dreams of having Phase 5, or what is it now? Phase 6?
5, I think.
So Phase 5, his villain, is put on the back of Ant-Man, arguably our worst headline hero. In a sequel that kills him off. Making, not giving it any sort of stakes or anything like that. Just kills him off.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised they actually put MODOK in there.
Oh god, yeah, and
MODOK. MODOK is one of those characters that I just don't think works well in live action, unless you give him like a heavy reimagining, or keep the core concept that he's supposed to be. Well, in the comics, he's I think he's supposed to be an android.
Mm-hmm.
He's supposed to be an android created by an organization called AIM. He's there. And so but they don't. They keep the silly design, but change everything else about him. In fact, I think he's the villain from the first Ant-Man. He got shrunk down into a little body with a big head.
For no reason, of course.
So, one of the things I want to do with my channel is probably do a rewriting the MCU series. So, the good movies will stay mostly intact, but some of the other movies will get heavily rewritten. So I guess my idea for a reimagining of MODOK, while keeping the idea that he's supposed to be like this android that controls AIM, I'd have it so he's like I envision him sort of almost kind of like the Terminator mixed with Zordon. He's like a big robotic head in a tube, but he can control all the technology around him since he's hooked up to everything. So keep the core concepts. Well, keep core concepts without it looking too silly for live action. And no, Wisp, MODOK is Marvel, Red Lantern is DC.
And he has been positioned as the franchise's next big thing in this season of Loki, particularly the finale, which airs on November 9th and sets up Kang as the titular fifth star of a fifth Avengers film in 2026. That will not happen. That will not happen. No way. There's not a chance that Marvel as a brand, as a film franchise, sustains itself for 2 more years. No way. Not with everyone at the helm that they have now.
Yeah.
But now they'll have Ironheart and Captain Falcon.
Yeah. They just really didn't think this through. Honestly, they should have. I think it would have. Seeing how Sam Wilson has been Falcon for much longer than he's been Captain America, I think they should have made it so Bucky became the new Captain America for a while, and then eventually when his actor is ready to leave, then Sam becomes Captain America.
I agree to your terms, sir.
No, okay, we've been talking about Star Wars like the past 6 videos have been Star Wars.
Yeah, generally. Yeah, we've had a lot of Star Wars content.
We have other hobbies and interests.
Marvel is truly fucked with the whole Kang angle, says one top deal maker who has seen the final Loki episode, and they haven't had an opportunity to rewrite until very recently because of the WGA strike. Oh yeah. But I don't see a path to how they move forward with him. Yeah, because there's not one, because they fucked it up from the get-go. There wasn't anything anyone could do. Ooh, because the people that were right because of bad writing and the message over, telling a good story. Hold on. I was doing a thing. All right. Beyond the bad press for majors, the brain trust at Marvel is also grappling with the November release of The Marvels, a sequel to 2019's blockbuster Captain Marvel that has been played with lengthy reshoots, now appears to likely underwhelm at the box office. No. Underwhelm is understating it. This movie is dead on arrival. Dead on arrival. There is no one that is excited for this movie. There is no one that wants to go see this movie. If there are, I'm sure there are shills online that are like, oh yeah, we're super excited to go see the Marvels. No, they're shills. They lie for money, like we all
I think
do.
the only people I think would be excited are just kind of hipsters, kind of hipster people. I know that my people from the theater classes I took back in college were into that shit.
We watch it ironically. Swear my cousin might I buy this go see this movie, and I will have to judge him for that. Not that I don't care, but
Yeah, I completely repressed the first Captain Marvel. I blocked that from my mind. It did not happen. It's full of plot holes, and its explanation for Nick Fury's eye is fucking stupid.
It's full of plot holes. It doesn't know its own. It fucks with the timeline established by other films. Films like, why you do that?
It's like the pinnacle of cringe millennial humor. Just Nick Fury's eye. In Winter Soldier, Fury says to Cap, "The last time I trusted somebody, I lost an eye." And then you see him take off his patch, and you see his eye is horribly scarred. You just think, wow, this guy's been through some real shit. And then you see the movie, like, oh no, he just got an alien cat scratch his face. LOL, how random.
Oh yeah, and this was supposed, and what's funny is that this was supposed to be a direct Captain Marvel sequel. Like, she was supposed to get the movie to herself. Oh, if it's not a team up film, not anything like that. No, she was supposed to get the movie to herself, and that it was supposed to be like a sequel for her, and they took that away from her because no one wanted to. Because even back then, they knew no one wanted to watch Brie Larson. No one wanted to watch Brie Larson. This is all an unprecedented turn of fortune for a company that has enjoyed nearly uninterrupted string of hits ever since it started independently producing its movies with 2008's Iron Man. And what That wildly profitable run culminated in the 2.8 billion success. This is of Marvel's Avenger. Oh my God, I cannot read. $2.8 billion success of 2019's Avengers Endgame, a high watermark for the studio that has earned nearly 30 billion over 32 films. Replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. However, the source of Marvel's current troubles can be traced back to 2020. Ah, yes, precisely. When Disney Plus put the first. So, yeah. I would say no. No, the problems were starting to emerge very early on into Endgame. Like, after Infinity War, like Black Widow came out after Infinity War, after we knew she had, or no, Black Widow came out after Endgame, didn't she? Didn't?
Yeah, I think that was. I want to say that was the last MCU movie I ever saw in theaters.
Oh
Or
yeah,
no, the last one I ever saw. Period.
but it was like, which one came out between Endgame?
That was Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Oh yeah,
Actually, no.
it was Ant-Man and the Wasp 2, right?
Yes, and Captain Marvel. I think both were.
Yes. Okay.
I know Captain
It
Marvel
was like
was somewhere between there.
it was like no, because it was like Ant-Man was the first movie, and then it was Ant-Man and the Wasp for their sequel, and that came out between Endgame. Because that's how Scott gets in the
Quantum realm.
quantum realm, and the snap traps him there. I remember things. So, you had two mid-tier movies. One was like should not have been as successful as it was, but I digress. So you have those two movies come out in between Endgame, and the writing was on the wall with how bad, with Brie Larson's speech at the Oscars, and then her getting cast as Captain Marvel, and that movie is terrible writing. The signs were there, or prior to um prior to Endgame.
I'd argue it goes back even farther. Guys like Joss Whedon and Taika Waititi set the standard for set the standard for tone going forward. Everything has to be silly. We can't take it too seriously.
I don't think that's right. Whedon was able to do fairly serious movies. Like the Avengers is serious when it needs to be.
For the most part, just I think some of the jokes are just sort of awkward. Like when Thor is trying to defend Loki's honors, like he's Asgardian and my brother, and then Black Widow says he killed 80 people in 2 days, and then Thor goes, he's adopted. It's so weird. It's so weird that he just instantly throws him under the bus. Like we as what we've seen with Thor, like he after everything Loki has done so far in both that movie and the first Thor movie, Thor still sees Loki as his brother and just wants him to come home. So, of course he's going to it's natural that he'd defend Loki's honor. And then for Black Widow to make one rebuttal, and he just instantly goes, "Oh, well, we're not really related." It would have worked better if Black Widow says he killed 80 people in 2 days, and then Thor just glares at her. Sort of, you're not wrong, but fuck you for saying that. That was also an idea I had for my channel, was having maybe just kind of dissecting the humor in Marvel movies to kind of figure out what works and what doesn't. Because I do think I would say the scene where Hulk beats the shit out of Loki, that actually does work, because Loki has put the characters through so much shit throughout the entire movie. So when Hulk just grabs him and just repeatedly slams him on the ground, it's actually very cathartic to watch. All right, I'm done.
replicating that kind of phenomenon is never easy. Oh wait, no, we were here. That's when the COVID pandemic ushered in a mandate to help boost Disney's stock price with an endless torrent of interconnected Marvel content and for the studio's fledgling streaming platform Disney Plus. According to the plan, and there would be never be a lapse in superhero fare, with either a film in theaters or a new television series streaming at any given moment. Ah, yes, let's produce a deluge of content that nobody could possibly keep up with. But the ensuing tsunami of spandex proved to be too much of a good thing, and demands of churning out so much programming taxed the Marvel apparatus. Oh, okay. So we're arguing that the shitty writing is because of too many projects going on at the same time, and not hiring shitty writers or as in shitty directors.
Actually, I just remembered. Actually, the last MCU movie I actually saw was the Spider-Man one.
No Way Home.
Yeah, No Way Home. And it was not a good movie, but it was a fun movie. Just for the novelty.
Mm.
It's not well written, but it's nice seeing all the previous heroes and villains from all the Spider-Man movies come back. Well, mine is Venom and Harry Osborn.
The demands of churning out so much programming tax the Marvel apparatus. Moreover, the need to tease out an interwoven storyline over so many disparate shows, movies, and platforms created a muddled narrative that baffled viewers. Yeah, it's almost like they didn't plan it out and instead flew by the seat of their pants in Phase 4 to try and introduce a bunch of new heroes, none of which were introduced very well because no one knew who, what, or why. We're just introducing all of them because, well, we have to put a woman in it and make her gay. But yeah, they just, without a solid plan, the strings that were supposed to weave Phase 4 together did not come together. And it's not surprising. We told you this from the jump. When Loki came out, everyone was like, no, this is bad. Don't do this. And they proceeded to do it anyway.
It's Loki is such a strange concept. Just the fact that okay, so we decided to have it so Loki has a character arc where he becomes a good guy, and then we see him die at the hands of Thanos. But then the next movie we see an earlier version of Loki from when he was still a villain. He escapes, and then in this show that Loki sees what his other self did, and now he's a good guy.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's
he's like, it's so weird. And I watched the first episode with my roommates, and I was pointing out why are you crying? None of this should matter to you. You don't know if these people are lying to you.
Loki, or the MCU Loki, definitely has a really odd fan base of very mentally disturbed teenage girls.
Yes, I know. I don't think Tom Hiddleston knows yet, but he will.
Oh, I'm sure he knows. I mean, there's that video where he went to Comic-Con dressed as Loki, and you can just hear he walks up on stage and just all these girls are screaming. He knows. And I was gonna say, so traditionally Loki is a villain, but I guess they wanted to go with the very sensitive bad boy approach. though not really a bad boy. I mean, he doesn't really do too many bad boy things, does he?
But here's the thing. Is Loki traditionally is a very mystical villain. He uses magic, deceptions, and animal creatures that are meant to destroy things. Like, it's very, very, very odd that we thrust him into a sci-fi universe. Like, I realize the excuse is that the Asgardians are aliens in the MCU. Ooh, and their magic is all technology, but it still looks like magic.
They still could have made it to where it was magic, and because the Asgardians made it, it'd be like Harry Potter. Like the Wizarding world is a lot more primitive with its technology compared to the Muggle world, but that's because the wizards use magic to solve their problems, so there's no need to make advancements in technology. They could do the same with the Asgardians. They're a lot more technologically primitive compared to Earthlings, but that's fine. They use magic to get around.
The Marvel machine was pumping out a lot of content. Did it get to the point where it was just too much and they were burning people out on superheroes? It's possible, says Wall Street analyst Eric Handler, who covers Disney. The more you do, the tougher it is to maintain quality. They tried experimenting with breaking into some new characters like Shang-Chi, the Eternals, with mixed results.
I
With budgets
keep
as big as these, you need home runs.
I keep on forgetting the Eternals happened.
I also keep forgetting the Eternals happened.
I've seen. I want to say the last few movies I watched. So there was. I did see Shang-Chi and I saw Black Widow, and they were both horrendous. I don't think they're as bad as people say they are. They're just horrendously meh. It's very meh. I did not hate them, but I don't want to watch them ever again either.
I can see that. Because it's like the Eternals takes place after Endgame, which means that these immortal beings, for no reason other than they were bound by some sort of rule, and not like, oh, well, it is like cosmic law that we will die if we interfere. No, it's we just don't want to. We're not supposed to, so we don't.
I mean, that could work if it's a story about, or sort of like Thor's character arc about an arrogant god learning to become humble. But do they even do that in the movie? I don't know.
No, I don't think so. Plus, all of them are very, very boring from what I heard. The Marvels, which opens in theaters on November 10th. Oh my god, The Marvels is out. Oh wait, no. It's only the 5th. Next week. Uh
Actually, no, it's the end of this week.
to get the ball past the infield, well, we'll struggle to get the ball past the infield, at least by Marvel's outsized standards. The movie, which cost $250 million, and we could probably add another $2 million to that, 2 or 300 million to that, just for safety. Probably make it 300 million. And even, and if we're honest, to include like marketing and all the reshoots that that happened, the rewriting, yeah, all that cost money. So that's probably not an accurate figure. And sees Brie Larson reprising her role as Captain Marvel, is tracking to open to 75 to 80 million, far below the 185 million Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness took in domestically in its debut weekend last year. Yeah, this is garbage, and it very quickly became known that it was garbage. I know. Come, Cuddles. Cuddles. No.
Uh,
I hate that my cat isn't cuddly. So, yeah, the Multiverse of Madness was garbage. Like 185 million, though. I don't even think we'll see that. Like, I don't believe we'll see this. I think if I'm honest, to give a figure, I think it's probably the way less. I would say less than 65 million. I don't think that the box office for the Marvels is going to be higher than that on its opening weekend, which is terrible. Directed by Nina DaCosta. This director has like one other credit in it. It's like a romance movie, right?
I don't know. I've never heard of this person.
The Marvels unites Larson's heroine with two superpowered allies, Tiona Paris, Monica Rambeau, introduced in the 2021 Disney Plus series WandaVision. Ah, yes, the series that made Wanda enslave a whole town. Oh, and then praised her for it. Iman Vellani is Kamala Khan, first seen in the 2012 series, not 2012, 2022 series Miss Marvel, which no one watched. Nobody watched Miss Marvel. So you're introducing two characters, one of which was introduced in a series that by the time she was like actually relevant to the show, well, nobody was watching the show anymore. And the way she got her powers is weird, and no one really understands why.
Yeah, it's yeah, that's so strange. So, from what I've seen from the trailers, made it look like she got the powers from a bracelet that she got. However, I keep hearing everyone saying that she's supposed to be a mutant. She's the first mutant, at least the first one on screen.
Yeah.
And then in
Yeah,
the comics also recently retconned it to where she's now a mutant. So I think it was when she started off as an Inhuman, which is sort of like I think the Inhumans are, for a time, Marvel intended for them to be a replacement for mutants because they didn't have the full rights of the X-Men. But then then of course Disney bought Fox, so Marvel got the X-Men back. So now and then I think it was last year in the comics they killed Kamala off, but then she came back to life and now she's a mutant.
I see. So but Rambeau, she was introduced in WandaVision, and her powers in the MCU come from like walking through a barrier. Like she walks through Wanda's like magical barrier into the town she's enslaved, and then she just has powers. Like like how she has powers, I don't know. Oh, but she does just by walking. She got her powers by walking.
Wait, this is Monica Rambeau you're talking about?
Yeah. But the whole premise of the trailers that we reacted to at one point was like they switch places when they use their powers, which begs the question of how are all their powers connected? Like, in what way are their powers connected?
I guess it's all from the same energy source.
But how?
I think that Kamala's bracelet is supposed to be alien technology.
But that doesn't mean anything, because in Captain Marvel gets gets her powers from the Power Stone, from the Infinity Stone, and like a mixture of goo, like Infinity Stone goo that falls on her, and that's how she gets her powers. Monica Rambeau gets her powers from walking through a barrier that that Scarlet Witch put up.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, then that would mean that her powers are from Scarlet Witch.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to remember, did Scarlet Witch got her powers because Hydra experimented on her? Or
I
was it
think
also,
so, yes.
or is it just genetic?
I think they were the result of vibranium experiments.
And if the guys that running the MCU had played this smarter, they could have just left the origin of their powers a little vague, just to set up the potential of bringing in the X-Men. Since traditionally they're mutants, they're the children of Magneto.
Who, Rambeau?
No, Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Oh yeah. But instead of seamlessly building on the success of Captain Marvel, this movie resulted in 4 weeks of reshoots to bring coherence to a tangled storyline.
Yeah, and I'm
Then
pretty sure it was
eyebrows
only.
raised. Go ahead.
I think it was only successful because it was most normies probably thought they had to watch it to understand the next movie.
Oh yeah.
Everything was building up to Endgame.
Yeah, this was absolutely like because Endgame is coming out. Oh, this could be important. But it's not. It doesn't have any relevance to Endgame. It only has one scene, and that's just Nick Fury calling her. Or at the end. And I'm pretty sure that happened at the end of Infinity War. Like, she doesn't make her next appearance until Endgame. And that's only to be a taxi service for Tony. That's all
And
she
then to
should have
show
been.
up at show up at the end to fight Thanos and then lose.
And lose.
And then being
But she
that
took out
super
the ship.
being that super cringy scene where all the female heroes are all together.
Oh yeah.
It feels so fucking forced. Like, I've got no issue with badass female heroes, but when you do a scene like that, it just doesn't feel natural. It's done to, like, all I see is the Russos sucking each other off. Look how virtuous we are. We respect the women's.
Then eyebrows were raised again when DaCosta began working on another film while The Marvels was still in post-production. So this lady, he hasn't seen the production, didn't see the production all the way through, started working on something else. That's very telling. The fact that she didn't comment either is also very telling. That tells you that the director wants to be far away from this production as physically as like financially possible because of the fallout. I have run away from this production because it is a better idea than staying. If you're directing a $250 million movie, it's kind of weird for the director to leave with a few months to go, says source familiar with the production. The Marvels has seen its release date moved back twice once to swap places with Quantumania, which was probably a poor decision because both would have ended in a train wreck. But at least by then, at least if the Marvels had gone first, Quantumania would have been shelved and not come out because Marvel would have been like, oh, that's not gonna do well because Ant-Man didn't gross that much to begin with. Which was deemed further along, and again, when its debut shifted from July to November to give the filmmakers more time to tinker, But that extra time didn't necessarily help. In June, Marvel, which traditionally only solicits feedback from Disney employees and their friends and families, took the uncharacteristic step of holding a public test screening in Texas. The audience gave the film middling reviews. So they came.
They did it in
So
Texas, and they didn't invite me.
hold on, do what? Sorry, my headphones messed up.
Oh, I was gonna say they test screened it in Texas, and they didn't invite me.
I agree. We weren't invited, probably because we would have made Mahler level video essays breaking down why it was so terrible. But all of this is bad signs, red flags everywhere. But Marvel has, and I believe this test screening got torn apart for real. Like in reality, middling reviews, it is like the audience tore this whole movie a new one. But Marvel has never been in the business of being average. Kevin's real superpower is his His genius has always been in post-production and getting his hands on movies and making sure they finished strongly. The
On
source
the
adds,
contrary,
these days he
most of
spread
their movies are. Sorry, I was gonna say most of their movies are actually pretty average.
Yeah. Yeah. It's it's not good. Not good. And besides, like, you can't put all your eggs in Kevin Feige's basket and pretend like, oh, he's a genius, he'll figure it out, without handing the man at least a plan. Like, let the man come up with the plan, or someone hand the man the plan. Because as I understand, Feige has done some good stuff with like post production and stuff. But what has he made that has been successful in the MCU? Like, what has Kevin Feige helped? I don't think it's been much. Got anything for me, Caesar?
I've got nothing. I'm not really sure how the writing process works.
Feige isn't the only person showing signs of strain. Marvel's entire VFX battalion, including staffers and vendors, is struggling to keep pace with a never-ending stream of productions. This past February, when the credits rolled at the world premiere of Quantumania, shock rippled through the Regency Village Theater in Westwood over some shoddy CGI. There were at least 10 scenes where the visual effects has been added at the last minute and were out of focus. Says one veteran power broker who was there. It was insane. I've never seen something like that in my entire career. Everyone was talking about it. Even the kids of the executives were talking about it. Yeah, because we're kind of sick of CGI and we're starting to see when it's flawed. There is a way to balance the two.
Not to mention the quantum realm just looks so fucking generic.
Oh God,
How is
yeah.
this any different from any of the movies that take place in space?
In space.
In hindsight, this could have actually been a good way to introduce the Fantastic Four, because that was
True.
they were in the quantum realm this whole time. Because if I remember correctly, in the comics, the quantum realm is called the microverse, and I think that concept was initially in the Fantastic Four. So we can say that they've existed the whole time. They've also been trapped in the quantum realm, and that could also be how we introduce Doctor Doom. They bring the Fantastic Four back with them, but then they accidentally bring Doom with them too.
Or Doom figures out how to come with them, how to get there on his own.
Yeah, that too. And then that's how we introduce Doctor Doom, and that sets up It sets up a future movie.
Exactly. Excuse me. Sorry. The schedule swap with the Marvels had left the Ant-Man sequel in a squeeze, pushing up its post-production schedule by 4.5 months. Marvel films are known for coming down to the wire, given Feige's ability to foam the runway and land the plane that way. He says one executive familiar with how the company operates, but this level of unfinished was unprecedented and would be noted in scathing reviews whose when the tentpole with the $200 million budget opened 11 days after the premiere, critics weren't the only ones dismayed, fed up with 14-hour days and no overtime. Marvel VFX workers voted unanimously to unionize in September, sparking an industry-wide trend. Good for the VXF artists.
Oh God, Wisp! I completely forgot about that. Where Hank says that we should be socialists like the ants.
Oh yeah,
Like motherfucker, ants
maybe
don't
we should
have a
learn
ants
something
don't
from
have
them.
ants don't have a sense of morality. They're not good creatures.
Nor are they evil creatures, to be fair. They are not moral actors. They don't have most ants don't have a sense of self either. This year, 2023, was the straw that broke the camel's back, says former Marvel Studios VFX assistant coordinator Anna George, who appeared before the Congressional Labor Caucus on October 19 to testify about the studio's untenable deadlines and working conditions. The pay, long hours at Marvel were the reason we had to start our unionization process there. The conditions were completely unsustainable. Disney's top brass, including newly returned CEO Bob Iger, was said to be apologetic about the Marvel's VFX troubles. 1 month after the Quantumania premiere debacle, the guillotine fell on Victoria Alonso, who oversaw the studio's physical production, post-production, VFX, and animation. While the reason cited for her abrupt firing was her unauthorized role as an executive producer on the Oscar-nominated film Argentina 1985, insiders say Disney was incensed that quality control on its Marvel productions was plummeting. Yeah, that was a whole big thing a couple months ago. Well, they fired her, and then they were like, it'll be fine. But yeah, Bob Iger came back, and basically continued the mass firings. Chapek was going to fire a bunch of people, and they threw him out, and then Iger came back and did the same thing. It's hilarious.
It's a good thing I thought of that.
Particularly on the ever-expanding TV front. The VFX logjam had been evident for some time, with some final effects for such Disney Plus series such as WandaVision and She-Hulk Attorney at Law, inserted after their streaming debuts. That Alonso was busy promoting her art house project, while Rome burned certainly didn't sit well with Disney's leadership. Alonso's attorney says her client is unable to comment. Wow, we've got a lot more to go. We might have to split this one up. But some internal sources suggest Alonso was a scapegoat and point to the She-Hulk VFX issues as a symptom of a deeper rot, namely lack of oversight on script development script development. Yeah, hire shitty people. We keep making this point, but it's worth harping on. You hire shitty people, you get shitty work. Like, if you hire people just because, oh, they tick the certain boxes without determining whether or not they can actually do the job, but inevitably, you're going to produce something that is not worthwhile because you have no way of knowing if someone is capable of actually being a good writer or not.
Yeah, just what
Or
was even the point of making She-Hulk CGI? All you had to do was just hire a tall actress.
yeah, I know, right?
Just get a tall actress, paint her over, and then you can just make her just do CGI for when she's her normal size, and then once she mutates into She-Hulk, she just stays tall and green for the rest of the series.
Yeah. Which was, the norm for She-Hulk. Like, she was tall and green, and that was that.
Hey, come on, guys! I thought you guys cared about diversity and inclusion. Where's your tall ladies representation?
In the original arc of She-Hulk, a flashbacks of star Tatiana Maslany's transformation into her Hulk character didn't take place until episode 8, the penultimate episode. But after Marvel's Brain Trust watched footage, it realized that the scene needed to happen in the pilot episode so that audiences could see more of the character's backstory early on. That meant that the VFX team was tasked with fixing the mess in post-production.
Oh God! Like, yeah, we watched the first episode together. The way she became She-Hulk is so fucking stupid. Like, both her
My
and Bruce
God.
are get into an accident. They're both bleeding, and then Bruce's blood gets into her body.
And she becomes a Hulk.
Okay. Can that happen to anybody who gets Bruce's blood, or is that exclusive to family members?
They
So,
explain that it's exclusive to family members.
okay, they do explain it. Okay.
Yes.
I was gonna say, because that raises a shit ton of questions. Because Stan Lee once drank juice that had Bruce's blood in it, and I think his character died.
Yeah, most people will. Like, you're supposed to have you have to have certain genetic markers for it to work.
So in the comics, it was she got into, or I think she got shot, and then Bruce gave her a blood transfusion, which
Mhm.
I can suspend my disbelief a little better for that one because it's large quantities of his blood.
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas in the show, it's just a little bit of his blood happens to get in her wound.
It drips into her open wound. Oh, let's not forget that she fucking throws a car door to the side. The so-called bad VFX we see is because of half-baked scripts, says one person involved with the She-Hulk. I'm not surprised. That is not Victoria, that is Kevin, and excuse me, even above it, Kevin. Excuse me. Those issues should be addressed in pre-production. The timeline is not allowing the Marvel executive to sit with the material. I don't think the Marvel executives see the material. Well, if there is I don't think the Marvel executives see the material. I don't think they do. I think they're told certain things that they immediately believe because they have the same ideology as the people making the show. So when they read the show, they're like, this is exactly what people want. All the while, Marvel was bleeding money with a single episode of She-Hulk costing some 25 million, dwarfing the budget of a final season of HBO's Game of Thrones. But without similar zeitgeist bang, the August 2022 series premiere at the El Capitan Theater foreshadowed what was to come 6 months later at the Quantumania bow. Oh, the She-Hulk special effects were out of focus in multiple scenes. There are signs that the flooded product is leading to people to tune out. I'm not prepared to call it a permanent fall, but based on the numbers that go with Marvel podcasts, Marvel-based articles, friends who do Marvel-based video coverage, all of these numbers are significantly down, says Joanna Robinson, co-author of the New York Times bestseller MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, who is a writer and podcaster at The Ringer. I think what was I remember this being talked about. Oh, like this book came out relatively recently, I think, right?
Which book is it?
The MCU Reign of Marvel Studios.
Oh, I don't know. I've never heard of this book.
What's great about the title is it implies that Marvel Studios is no longer king. It is a look back on the reign. And yeah, the fact that She-Hulk had a $25 million budget for one episode tells me that no one was that it was just green light go for these people. Well, because the reason because Game of Thrones by its final season had had the zeitgeist. Like it had everyone's attention. Everyone was always talking about Game of Thrones, and that was the case for 8 years. For 8 years, Game of Thrones was king of TV. But we're gonna put $25 million into a She-Hulk production because we need a female Hulk. The problem is She-Hulk is a relatively obscure character. She's not that widely known. So she already has the problem of no one really knows who this character is except like hardcore Marvel fans or people who grew up with certain TV shows like Hulk TV shows in the 90s and 80s. And even then, they may not have watched those shows, only heard about her in passing. So you've got a relatively obscure character, and this is the same thing that that DC made the mistake of, is like we're spending a lot of money on an obscure character. DC did the same thing with Blue Beetle. Marvel did the same thing with She-Hulk. There were signs that the flood of product was leading people to tune out. The quality is suffering. In 2019, at its peak, you put Marvel Studios in front of something, and people were like, oh, that brand means quality, and that association is no longer the case, because there have been so many projects that felt half-baked and undercooked. 100% true. And for a moment, I can't make the image bigger. That's unfortunate.
Oh, you
but
can't?
Look at
you can't click on it.
Yeah. Like it just highlights it. But you can see it from here, and I could probably zoom in.
You can drag it up into another tab.
Like for a moment, let's look at these costumes. We all knew that She-Hulk was like 2002 PS2 levels of CGI. Hey, but like Kang's costume looks so cheap. Like this looks like a mid-tier cosplay from a convention. And then, oh my gosh, look at these.
So
He's like,
a,
what the hell
it's a
are these?
huge reoccurring problem with the Marvel Cinematic Universe since probably phase 2 or 3 is just everybody is so fucking over designed. It's visual vomit. Like if you've seen Thor's costume in the 4th movie, it actually causes me discomfort to look at it. It's so fucking over designed.
His costume in like when they go back to Asgard?
No, the Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh, no, I haven't seen that costume. Hold on. Let me pull it up.
I apologize for the sexual assault your eyes are going to feel. It gets worse when he has the helmet on.
I'm trying to find one like that's a screenshot of the film.
You just have to Google Thor: Love and Thunder. You'll find some. Oh, and I could post it too on Discord.
Oh yeah, okay. Like, hold on, I'm sharing the tab. Oh my god. Okay.
Good news, they finally brought back Thor's hammer, or sorry, Thor's helmet. Bad news, it looks ugly as shit.
Hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to show you all the pictures. Do.
You doing all right over there?
Yeah, hold on. I'm doing things in the background. There we go.
Yeah, just look at that
So,
thing.
oh god, it's got like her costume isn't any better. Like what is all of this? What is all of this? Like Thor's costume in the like in Endgame looks cool. This looks like it was in like he looks like an action figure come to life.
What? You mean the one he had in Infinity War?
Yes. Well, yeah, Infinity War, Avengers, the one with the chainmail.
Yeah, he usually has chainmail whenever he's using his hammer. I
It
think like
looks
the
so much
hammer.
worse with the helmet. It's so much worse with the helmet. Like, what the hell is this? Why does he have a bird on his face?
Yeah,
Like,
the
yes,
the
his helmet.
Infinity War design works so well because it's simplistic. Like it still has a lot of the lines and everything, but the colors are toned down. This looks like actual armor someone might be wearing.
Yeah. As public criticism mounts, Feige is pulling the plug on scripts and projects that aren't working. Case in point, the Blade reboot. Oh, so apparently there are horror stories surrounding this Blade reboot that are kind of insane. Like that has been through 5 different directors and like 4 different writers' rooms. Like nobody wants to work on this film.
So I've heard that he was, what was it like playing? He was fourth fiddle to a bunch of other characters. It was more about, I guess, the female characters than it was about Blade himself.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it's not that hard to do a Blade movie. He hunts vampires, and he himself is half vampire.
A creature of the night. Indeed, it is not a hard sell. Well, with Mahershala Ali signed on as an eponymous role of a vampire, things look promising for a 2023 release date. But the project has gone through at least 5 writers, 2 directors, and 1 shutdown 6 weeks before production. So literally, we're about to start production on this, and no one knows anything of what's going on. Like the script has to be a mess. Like actors probably don't know like what their characters are supposed to be and act like. So we're just setting everybody up to fit for failure at this one. One person familiar with the script permutations says the story at one point morphed into a narrative led by women and filled with life lessons. Blade was relegated to 4th lead, a bizarre idea considering that the studio had 2-time Oscar winner Ali on board. I agree.
Life lessons in a movie about hunting vampires.
Yep.
I don't know, don't talk to strangers. Is that the moral?
I guess. Who knows? Probably like, oh, men are horrible kind of life lessons. And like the message, man. You got to remember the message. Amid reports that Ali was already ready to exit over script issues, Feige went back to the drawing board, hired Michael Green, the Oscar-nominated writer of Logan, and to start anew. Speculation around town is that the studio is looking to make the film, now slated to start for 2025 on a budget of less than 100 million, deviations from Marvel's big spending strategy. That's literally depending on if it's been this bad, production hasn't even started yet. I don't think we'll see a 2025 release. And I think once the Marvel's bombs hard, I think Blade will be shut down. Kitty, why?
Because it's time for you to feed him.
That's actually true. Yes, it is true. I will be right back.
All right, so how are y'all doing? As it's kind of scary to think that they just didn't really have a real plan.
You're correct, Wisp. All right. With Iger publicly acknowledging the downslide of a Marvel TV glut that diluted focus and attention, the keepers of the comic book empire are considering some dramatic moves. Sources say there have been talks to bring back the original gang for an Avengers movie. Yeah, they do this. It's over. It's the death. It's literally saying we have given up. We have nowhere else to go. You're correct about Monster Hunter. Or Monster Hunter had the same problem. This would include reviving Robert Downey Jr.'s Iron Man and Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow, both of whom were killed off in Endgame. Yeah, I'm sure that will happen because, Robert Downey Jr. is so eager to come back. Like, same with Scarlett. Like, oh well, they've made their money. They don't want to make. They're older too. Like, I think Junior's in his late 40s, early 50s. Like,
He's definitely a lot more frail looking than he was in Endgame.
yeah,
Of course, he also went vegan. Make of that what you will.
that's true. Yes. That shouldn't be a stumbling block in comic books. Beloved characters are often killed off only to be resurrected thanks to the power of things like the multiverse. Yeah, no, it's sort of a bad thing when that happens. It feels cheap. Like, it has to be done very, very well for it to be good, and very often, and that doesn't happen.
They really shouldn't have made this whole thing, these two phases revolve around the multiverse.
Oh no,
The multiverse, like in and of
absolutely
itself, is not a bad idea, but it's when you start overdoing it. And the first Doctor Strange had the right idea, where they introduce the concept of it, they allude to it, and then for the second movie, we get to actually see what the multiverse is like, and then they should have just left it at that. Doctor Strange 2, what they should have done with it is use this as an opportunity to introduce Marvel heroes that we'll probably never actually see. So let's say Bucky as Captain America, or
Professor X,
a version of Thor that's more like the Ultimate Universe, and then maybe bring in fucking Reptile. Like,
I forgot about Reptile. When I first saw him, I saw him in like the Superhero Squad show.
Yeah, same.
Like, that was how I first was introduced to him. I didn't believe he was a real hero. I didn't believe that. I thought he was just made up for that series. But he was not. But the studio hasn't yet committed to the idea. If it were able to bring those actors back, it wouldn't come cheap. Sources say Downey Jr.'s upfront salary for Iron Man 3 was around $25 million. Will that solve Marvel's major problem? No, it'll be the end. Like, if they bring back Robert Downey Jr. or Chris Evans or Scarlett Johansson, like, they're not, that'll be the end. That'll be the death knell. That will signify that Marvel is no longer going to pursue anything but like cheap knockoffs. When the Quantumania actor was arrested, will that solve Marvel's major problem? Okay. When the Quantumania actor was arrested in March, Disney executives insisted that they could afford her to play a wait-and-see game, given that Avengers, the Kang Dynasty, wasn't expected to begin shooting until early 2024. But then Majors was dropped in quick succession by his publicists and managers. He remains a client at WME, the agency where he landed after CAA parted ways with him pre-arrest, for his brutal conduct towards staff. Says one source, or CAA declined to comment. In April, other alleged domestic violence victims of Majors began cooperating with the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Then, ahead of a key hearing in October, media outlets including Variety obtained a court filing referenced a police incident in London involving Majors that led his ex-girlfriend to seek medical attention, making matters even stickier. The ex-girlfriend also worked on Quantumania as a movement coach, and the London incident took place while Majors was shooting season 2 of Loki. On October 25th, a New York judge denied Majors' motion to dismiss the case, which ensures that the actor will stand trial in late November. His legal team is attempting to keep some material in the case sealed. Damn, that's interesting. I wonder if this is another Dave Chappelle situation. You've heard that, right? Where Snoop Dogg was like on a podcast and he was like, "Hey, you know what? Dave Chappelle went to like the execs and asked for more money." He's like, "What do you?" And Chappelle was like, basically used the threat of his fan base. He's to try and compel them to pay him more, which he deserved more.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah. So the exec said like, because Chappelle was basically saying, I want 10% of the total profits, which wasn't his original deal. Well, because he was going to be paid like a flat amount, but he brought in like in the Chappelle show, he brought in like 50 million, like 500 million. It was a big number.
Okay, so was this recent or did it happen a while back?
I don't know.
Because I remember the Chappelle show that came out back in the 2000s, right?
Yeah, but it was in reference to the Chappelle show. Like Snoop Dogg was talking about how during the money made on the Chappelle show, Dave Chappelle only made like a certain amount, but he asked for more. He asked for like 10% of the profits, and he was like, "What do you think?" And when they said no, it's like, "What do you think my fans will think when I tell them this?" And the people in the executive office and the execs of the show were like, "Your fans will believe you're a crackhead by the time you get home." And he left and went home, and there had already been and there were already stories when he landed that implied he was allergic to crack, or not allergic. He was in like snorting crack and doing all this stuff, which makes me think like, did Majors ask for more money to play Kang and potentially like have Hollywood have someone piss someone off, or is this true? Or it could be just like it could be exactly like the Vic Mignogna situation where it's a bad actor trying to do bad actor things. A studio source notes that regardless of the actor's legal issues, Marvel already had considered moving away from a Majors-led phase because of the box office performance of Quantumania, which will struggle to make a profit. It gave people pause, given that Quantumania didn't exactly land. So the source says. On October 27th, Disney removed another Majors film, Searchlight's Magazine Dreams, from the release calendar. Recasting Majors is also an option. Yeah, they're going to have to, probably. As Feige did when he replaced Terrence Howard in Iron Man 2 with Don Cheadle. In fact, Marvel is afraid to change direction even after making splashy announcements. Armor Wars was the first unveiled as a series and is now being developed as a feature, while the studio's push to adapt the comic book Inhumans into a feature film generated headlines but is now dormant. The now defunct Marvel Television mounted an Inhumans TV series in 2017 that ran for one season on ABC. Oh yeah, that's the Inhumans TV show is garbage. Like, it's so hilariously bad.
Yeah, that's also a thing I forgot. I almost forgot about.
Yeah, I almost forgot about it too.
The only thing I remember about it is just the really bad CGI dog and ugly CGI long hair.
Yep. Still, there was one bright spot in 2023, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which became Marvel's biggest draw of the year with $845 million worldwide, the fact that it was directed by James Gunn, and the guy now running rival DC Studios, was lost on no one.
I don't know how to feel about James Gunn's DC universe.
He's working with like consider the fact that he has to work with what was given to him. So
I,
his stuff hasn't come out yet.
I thought he had
He's
a lot more creative range.
well, here's like that's what I'm saying is like he has to work with what he's given for a while.
Well, what is he given?
Apparently he was given trash. So he's trying. But I don't think we've seen a true James Gunn DC DC movie yet.
And not even the Suicide Squad.
Maybe.
Yeah, I thought that movie was all right.
Yeah, from what I've heard, the Suicide Squad starring John Cena was all right. And so was the Peacemaker series, from what I heard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't seen Peacemaker either. It sounds a little too goofy for my liking.
With Marvel, it used to be as close to a guarantee as you could get. It says Paul, I'm not even gonna try. A box office analyst from ComScore. So going all in on budgets made sense. Guardians 3 was a bit overlooked in how successful it was, but that had James Gunn and Chris Pratt, and I think star power is becoming more important. When there was Quantumania with 476 million. Anything under $500 million is viewed as a disappointment. And there's overreaching expectations as a result of so much success over the years. The key to reinvigorating Marvel may lie in the superhero arsenal that Disney acquired during its 2019 purchase of 21st Century Fox. Oh yeah, that deal brought several blue chip heroes such as the X-Men and the Fantastic Four back under the studio's control. Already fans are geeking out about the next year's Deadpool 3, which reunites Ryan Reynolds, the Merc with a Mouth, with Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and a reboot of Fantastic Four slated for 2025. As a bonus, the Fox editions gave Feige an opportunity to reimagine the X-Men franchise. It is the very property he cut his teeth on as a young executive at Lauren Schuller Dunnan's production company. Now that the WGA strike is in the rear view, Marvel has started talking to writers about bringing the X-Men into the MCU fold. While Feige recalibrates, the rest of the industry is anxiously hoping that Marvel's best days are not behind it. Writing the Marvel obituary would be ill-advised, says John Squire, professor emeritus at USC School of Cinematic Arts and host of the Movie Business podcast. Kevin Feige is the Babe Ruth of movie executives, and Marvel has the most profitable track record in movie history, no question. So we've brought it. So we've attempted to bring it back, but unfortunately, there is no key to reinvigorating the MCU.
I don't have any high hopes for their reimagining of the X-Men.
I agree.
I don't think these writers are competent enough to handle certain subject matters that the X-Men are famous for.
I agree. I don't think the X-Men will be handled well. I don't know about Deadpool 3 either. Or like Deadpool historically has done fairly well and his movies have been well received. But I just don't know at this point like how good or how bad the writing is going to be. It's going to depend on that.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, if Deadpool the reason they're mentioning this is because the plot leak about Kelsey Grammer's Beast being in the Marvels and how like he's gonna come in and be like, and say, "Well, how can I help?" Basically, like they brought back Kelsey Grammer to play Beast, and they're just gonna throw him at the end of the Marvels to try and boost the nostalgia. Remember
Well,
or Beast.
Mark,
Remember the X-Men.
yeah, mark my words. They're going to eventually just make Magneto a hero. He's gonna do a lot of horrible shit, but then everybody's gonna forgive him because he's a victim. He's a Holocaust survivor, so that means he's immune to any horrible things that he does after getting out of the camp.
Yeah,
It's
I mean, it's not like they've shown they have an
like
have
that.
very clear disrespect for Professor X and his
Yeah,
point of view.
correct. Like that's the whole irony about Magneto's character is that he experienced one of the worst events in human history, and that ended up making him, and that past trauma is one of the things that shaped him into becoming just as bad as just as evil as the people who put him in the camp. Oh god, especially if they got Ryan Coogler to direct it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, did you ever see the new Black Panther?
No.
Okay, well, neither have
No, I never watched the new Black Panther. I heard it was garbage, though.
Yeah, supposedly it's pretty much the same as the first one. The villain is a victim, so I guess the heroes and to an extent the audience slightly forgive you for all the horrible shit you just did because you're a victim.
Yep.
It's so fucking awkward. It's so fucking awkward. It's like Ryan Coogler just secretly hates white people. It's like, okay, so the Atlanteans are Mesoamericans.
Yeah, I saw that part.
Yeah, and they're also upset about colonialism. It's like Ryan Coogler just has a repressed fetish for white people, or having a white person dominate him. That's really what it feels
no
like.
kidding. Yeah.
It's like, okay, so like they bring him on to do Black Panther 3. It's like, what's it about? Well, now it's about white people conquering the Philippines. Like, okay, dude, are you okay?
Yeah. These are questions.
And they really should have just recasted T'Challa.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
What happened to Chadwick was horrible, but he's not the character. He was
exactly.
The character is above him. Like several actors have played him for decades. Hell, even the character himself was, I think Chadwick Boseman was born in the 70s, and the character T'Challa came out in the 60s. So yeah, just recast them. You've already done that for other characters. You've recasted Bruce Banner. You've recasted Rhodey. So I don't think anyone would mind too much. Probably just push it back a year. Don't release it too soon. All right, that's all I gotta say.
Yep. And that will be all for us today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please remember to leave a like down below. Oh, if you're not already, please subscribe. I hope you enjoyed. Have a wonderful day.